Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Catoctus High School Theater Department welcomes you to our production of Who Done It. Our production is in 3 acts with a 15-minute intermission after the second act. At this time, we ask that you turn off all cell phones and electronic devices. Please refrain from any photography or video recording of this performance as it is prohibited by law. In the unlikely event of an emergency, please take a moment to locate the exit nearest to you. And now, sit back, relax, and enjoy Who Done It.
Nowhere on earth, sir.
Don't make silly jokes, Muriel.
I'm not making silly jokes, Isabel. I was just telling the truth. All angels always tell the truth, so I was just stating facts.
You said nowhere on earth. What does that mean?
Nowhere on earth can mean several things, sir, but you're lucky, sir. This is heaven.
You mean I'm dead?
Completely dead, sir. You never saw angels before, did you, sir?
Muriel, don't make smart cracks.
I'm not making smart cracks. Except in very rare instances, people can't see angels unless they're dead. Dead people, I mean.
Please forgive Muriel, sir. She's new in the reception committee, and she likes to have fun with people when they arrive here. But you are dead, sir, and you are in heaven.
But just a minute ago, I was alive. I was in...
I know, sir. The trip up here doesn't take any time at all.
Okay? Let's say for the moment I'm dead. What happens now?
Michael will be here shortly, sir.
Michael? Who's he?
Michael is an archangel, one of the very biggest, most important archangels. He's the chairman of the reception committee. He interviews all new arrivals.
All right, well, where is he? I'd like to get this mess sorted out.
Well, don't be impatient, sir. There's plenty of eternity.
Is that again?
I said there's plenty of eternity. There isn't any time here.
Muriel, don't confuse the poor man.
I thought I heard the trumpet. It was a little out of tune, though. Isabel, who's on trumpet this morning?
Donatello, sir.
When he goes off duty, send him to Gabriel for another lesson.
I say, you Michael?
That's my name.
Well, listen here. What I want to know is...
Take it easy now, sir. There's no need to be nervous or anxious. I understand the trumpets must have jarred you a bit, but the music's much better inside the main gates. It's all harp singing, very soothing and peaceful.
See here, I'm not interested in discussing music.
Of course not. We should be discussing you. Alexander Arlington, correct?
Alexander Arlington. Yes, correct.
Let's see here. Yes, Arlington. Age 52?
Correct?
Immediate cause of death?
I don't know. I think it must have been a heart attack.
That's strange. It says here, murder.
What did you say? Murder?
They're always so surprised when they've been murdered, aren't they? You mean to tell me that you didn't know you'd been murdered?
Why, I would never dream of it. I just can't believe it. I was in my study. I must have been asleep. I was awakened by a sort of bursting pain in my chest. I thought it was a heart attack.
It was your heart, all right. It says here you were stabbed in the back with your letter opener.
In the back?
Oh, you won't find it there now, Mr. Arlington. You've been through processing already.
In the back? How devilish!
Shh, Alexander.
What do you mean? Shh.
That word. Devilish. Don't use that here.
Who did it?
I beg your pardon? Who did what?
Who murdered me?
I'm afraid I don't know that.
You don't know? I thought you'd have all the information in this infernal book.
It's not an infernal book.
Never mind the technicalities. Answer my question. Who murdered me?
Mr. Arlington, such information is left off the worksheet precisely to avoid such scenes as we're having now. You are in heaven. You are absolutely forbidden to feel angry or revengeful.
Not angry. I don't want revenge. I'm just curious. Who murdered me?
Well, I don't know who murdered you. I'm only an archangel. I don't know everything.
Well, this is a fine game. Murder without knowing who did it.
Of course, if the murderer becomes deceased himself, we might have a worksheet on him then, and I could let you know.
Well, when would that be?
Well, it depends, of course, on whether he's caught and executed, or whether he lives to a ripe old age. But I must add, in all honesty, Mr. Arlington, that a murderer might very well go to that other's place, and then we'd never have any information on him.
This is awful.
Why don't you just try to forget about it? Your old friend Mr. Arlington is sip of nectar.
Never mind that. What does it say in your book about my profession?
You were a mystery writer.
Correct. I was the author of 75 mystery novels, assorted short stories, and articles too numerous to mention. Does that mean anything to you?
Not really.
You don't understand. Here I am, famous mystery writer Alexander Arlington, who for 20 years asked and answered the question, who did it? Or as we like to often say, who done it? And now, I myself have been murdered, and I don't know who done it.
I can sympathize with you, sir.
I don't want your sympathy. I was stabbed in the back. I'll never be happy until I find out who did it.
Michael, did you hear what he said?
Of course he'll be happy. He hasn't been inside the main gates yet. Just wait till he sees our establishment, all the facilities for joy.
I don't want to see anything, and I don't want to go anywhere.
Mr. Arlington, you've got to go in.
Mr. Arlington, you'll just love it here. Everybody is happy and contented.
I'm not. It's fake. This is all fake. I'm miserable.
You can't be miserable. It's absolutely impossible for you to be anything but happy here.
I'm miserable.
This is ridiculous. This is preposterous.
Mr. Arlington, won't you reconsider?
I'm miserable.
Think of the embarrassment to us and the loss of our reputation if you went around heaven announcing you weren't happy.
I'm miserable.
Michael, what are we going to do? We could ask him, of course. He knows everything.
Yes, but he's so busy these days. Don't send me. I'd be afraid to go and ask him.
But Michael, he knew somebody up here wasn't happy. He put the blame on our department.
And as head of the department, I'd be blamed.
I'm miserable.
Oh, if it gets any louder up here inside.
Can we just send him to that other place?
No. If St. Peter says he's in, he's in.
I'm
Michael,
miserable.
what is here?
I'm miserable.
Say, it's not a bad idea. Mr. Arlington, perhaps there's something we can do after all.
Listening?
You were a writer of mystery stories. You were supposed to be good at finding clues and trapping murderers and all that.
Well, it was the best.
What I have in mind is completely irregular, but the situation demands swift action. Do you think you could solve this mystery if you were to go back to Earth for a little while?
Back to Earth? Well, now,
It's the only way I know of. Take your choice.
well, I could certainly try. But how?
Simple. You are quite independent of the element of time. So if we were to repeat a certain period of time, let's say, for your sake, one day, we would repeat the last day of your mortal life. Let's see here. It says here you died at exactly midnight. That's convenient. So you would repeat the last day of your mortal life.
One day? That wouldn't give me much time.
Weren't you the famous mystery writer? The very best?
Yes, I suppose. Fine. When do I start?
Right away. But let me remind you, Mr. Arlington, that the last day of your life is recorded in my book and cannot be changed.
But I'll have to do some investigating. There'll be some small details.
Only very small details can change, Mr. Arlington. I can only make very small erasures in my book. Big erasures would be rather noticeable, and I'd be terribly embarrassed. So keep the changes small ones, Mr. Arlington. You'll have one tremendous advantage, though.
The gift of foresight, you mean?
Precisely. You'll know ahead of time and you'll be stabbed in the back at exactly midnight.
But couldn't we change that part of it? Stabbed in the back. That's gruesome, you know.
Would you like to change your mind about the whole thing?
No, I have to know who murdered me.
Very well, then. You know the terms of the agreement, so be on your way. We do want all of our souls to be happy. Well, that's that.
Oh, I'm scared.
What do you mean you're scared? It was your idea.
Well, I'm scared anyway.
What if he doesn't come back? He's got to come back or then have to die.
I mean, what if he doesn't come back on time and in the right way?
He's got to. It's all down here in the book.
But you said you could make some erasures.
Little erasures, I said.
Yes. I know what you said, but you've never allowed this to happen before, have you?
No.
Then how do you know it's going to turn out right?
It's got to turn out all right. It's either Alexander Arlington or us. And if he doesn't come back, stab him back at exactly midnight, we'll be in a heck of a fix.
Good afternoon, sir. It's time to wake up. It's after 12 already.
Where am I?
Sure, you're at home, sir, in your study. Have you had a bad dream now?
Bad dream. I don't know what I've had. Annie, you're looking at a ghost.
Ghost? Oh, no, sir. I'm looking at you, sir.
Yes, I know. But you see, I died yesterday, or really today. Except it was at midnight last night. Except it was tonight.
Well, that was a bad dream you had indeed. You've been working too hard, you have. Staying up, working till all hours, and sleeping on that sofa there instead of your nice soft bed. Now sit down like a good lad and eat your breakfast.
Do me a favor, Annie. Pinch me.
Pinch you?
Yes, good and hard. See if I'm really alive.
Okay, well, if you convince you you're alive, I'll do it.
Well, I felt that. Did you feel me, Annie? I mean, am I solid? Can you touch me?
You were solid enough, but you won't be for long if you don't eat your breakfast.
What's that?
What's what, sir?
That thing.
This is just your old letter opener.
That dagger is what it is.
Well, sure it is, an old Chinese dagger, but you use as a letter opener.
But somebody, don't know who, used that dagger. That must have been when I was murdered with.
Beg your pardon, sir, but you haven't been murdered. You're standing there right as big as life.
You really don't understand, do you, Annie? You don't understand that today is really yesterday, do you? I guess you could say we're living yesterday all over again today. You don't understand it. I do. Probably the only one in this house that realizes it.
You're crazy, sir.
Please, Annie, put it down.
Will you eat your breakfast?
Fine, yes, I'll eat my breakfast. Now, go away, will you, Annie? I just need some time to think.
Good morning, Miss Arlington.
Harry! Don't scare me like that.
I didn't mean to scare you or anything, but I just remembered something.
Put those things away, will you? For heaven's sake, put them away.
But they made me remember it. I thought you might use it as a plot, sir. It was a murder I once saw committed. I'll mention no names if you don't mind. Saw with my 2 eyes in mine. Done with cheers, just like these. They did it sort of just like this. They sort of squeezed, cut his veins like cutting the stem of a rose.
Stop it! Don't kill me! Please don't kill me!
I wasn't gonna kill you or anything. I was just showing you how it's done once.
Yes, well, thank you, Harry. But, let's not talk about this now, shall we?
Now when I talk about murder, that's your favorite subject.
Just not today. That's all. Not today.
Okay? I was just telling you because I remembered it. I might forget it again.
Harry, wait a second. I didn't mean to be nasty. not feeling very well this morning. Do you understand?
Sure.
There's a question, though, Harry. I'd like to ask you. Have a seat. Do you consider yourself to be my friend, Harry?
Yes, I consider you a friend.
I mean, really and truly. You know I'm your friend, don't you?
Well, you're not only my best friend, you're my only friend. Took me to this house, gave me a chance to reform, didn't go to the cops, and all you asked for was a little work around the place, and to tell you how things were like back in my days. So yes, you are my friend, and I'm your friend.
Glad to hear that, Harry. You don't know how glad I am to hear that. Now, do me a favor, Harry. Tell me about the Shears murder some other time. I'll remind you of it.
Anything you say, sir?
Michael? Hey, Michael. There's one suspect I can cross off the list. Old Harry would never murder me. I'm his meal ticket. Pretty clever of me, huh? Question him like that? I'm using what we call the process of elimination. Yes, that's the way to do it. Process of elimination.
Good morning, Mr. Arlington. Ready to go to work, are we?
Work? Not quite yet, Miss Jenkins. But there's a question I'd like to ask you real quick. Have a seat.
I hope my work has been satisfactory.
Oh, quite satisfactory. I have no complaints. I just wanted to have a friendly heart-to-heart chat, that's all.
Very well, sir.
Now, Miss Jenkins, you've been my secretary for quite some time now, haven't you?
Almost 10 years.
Yes, that's quite a lot of time. We must have gotten to know each other pretty well in that amount of time. And you must know me pretty well. Tell me, Miss Jenkins, what's your opinion of me?
Well, I think you're...
Have I been considerate in the amount of work I've given you?
Oh, yes, sir. Very considerate.
Have I been kind and patient and gentle?
Oh, yes, indeed, sir.
Do you look upon me as a friend, Miss Jenkins?
Oh, I do. You're the best friend I have.
Very gratified to hear that. But why do you consider me to be your friend?
Well, if it hadn't been for you, sir, I'd been nothing but a stenographer in a stuffy old office. You let me live in this nice house, and the work has been so interesting. I feel I've really contributed something to work with a great writer. I've gotten to just love mystery stories. One day I want to be a mystery writer myself.
You, a mystery writer?
You've been a great teacher. I feel I've really worked with the master.
Oh, thank you for the compliment. But with this ambition of yours, you're not thinking of quitting, are you?
Oh, no, sir. I'd like to stay as long as you'll have me. I'm very happy here.
I'm gratified to hear that. And you say you consider me to be your friend?
You're my friend and benefactor and teacher.
Glad to hear that. You may go now, Miss Jenkins, if you'd like.
No dictation today, sir.
Not this time, but I'll call you if I want you.
Very well, sir. I'll check up the mail when it comes.
Thank you, Miss Jenkins. You do that now. Goodbye. There's another suspect. Miss Jenkins has absolutely no motive to murder me. In fact, if I were dead, she'd be out of a job and trying to write books on her own. And she says she'll keep her job if you'll notice. So we can cross Miss Jenkins off the list. Now we're accomplishing something. Pretty clever of me if I do say so myself. Were you using a dictaphone? A dictaphone? No, I was just thinking to myself. A new plot I'm considering for a book. You didn't hear what I said, did you, nephew?
Well, I heard a couple of sentences. Couldn't make any sense out of it, though.
Just as well. Just as well. Well, I'll say, nephew, you're looking plump and rosy this morning. What's on your mind?
Oh, the usual, Uncle Alex.
Usual? What do you mean by that, Andrew? Not money again.
Well, sort of. I've been having some difficulties.
What kind of difficulties? Not gambling again. Andrew, you promised me you quit.
I know. and losing, as usual. So, can I have an advance of my allowance?
How much?
Oh, say 2 or 300.
500 maybe? 500? Quite a sum of money, Andrew. Not that I haven't got it, of course. But it's the principle of the thing. You're almost 30 years old now, Andrew. Time you learn a little responsibility. You ought to get a job.
Oh, I'm looking for a job.
That's fine.
I just haven't found one to suit my talents yet. But I will. That's a promise. Now about that money.
Well, guess I can arrange something. I'll send Miss Jenkins down to the bank this afternoon. We can arrange something. Say, I've always taken care of you, haven't I?
You have, Uncle Alex.
Yes, I've taken care of you for years now, haven't I, Andrew? Tell me something. How grateful are you?
Why, Uncle Alex, you've been the best friend I've ever had. You raised me. You've been like a father to me. Someday, I want to pay you back. To prove to you how grateful I am.
I don't need your repayment, Andrew. I was just curious. What would you do, Andrew? What would happen to you if something happened to me? If, for instance, I was suddenly not able to support you anymore.
You're not going to throw me out of the house, are you?
No. No such thing. But who would take care of you? Pay your bills, give you an allowance if I wasn't around.
Uncle Alex, if it weren't for you, I'd be in bad shape.
So, you want to see me stay around long enough then, eh?
Say, you aren't sick or anything, are you?
No, I'm not sick. But you want to see me stay well and healthy and alive, don't you?
Boy, do I.
I appreciate you saying that, nephew. One more suspect eliminated. No, you don't understand. Never mind.
Miss O'Dowd, give up, sir. You said I should warn you,
Yes, thank you, Harry.
and she has a gentleman with her.
Gentlemen? Oh, bring them through the garden, will you please?
I say, Uncle Alex, if you'd comb your hair back a little more, you'd be able to cover that bald spot of yours better.
Is that supposed to be a nasty crack?
Why no, Uncle Alex?
I suppose you don't approve of me being in love with someone as young as Miss Odell now, do you?
Bah! She's not as young as she pretends. She just knows how to use makeup, that's all.
Andrew, let me tell you something. Vivian is 29.
Okay?
And I'm 52. There's not much of a difference in our ages at all.
I think I'll skip out on that one, Uncle Alex.
Go ahead.
Alex, darling, how are you?
Fine.
Surprised to see me?
Yes, I just woke up. Why didn't you call?
Oh, darling, it was just stifling in town, and I was dying for some fresh air. When I told George you had a tennis court, he insisted that we get a game in. George is the athletic type, you know. You don't mind that we use your tennis court, do you, Alex? Oh, you haven't even met George, have you? Darling, this is George Brewster, an old friend of mine. He was an All-American halfback at state.
Yes, I remember the name. Glad to meet you, Brewster.
How do you do? Read several of your books, in fact. Once in a while, us football players can read. You know, I've always liked your stuff. Real thrillers.
Thank you. I try my best to scare people.
You do good at that, I'd say.
Oh, as a fact, I sent a new book to my publisher called Murder of Mannequin.
That sounds interesting.
Will it be chosen by the Mystery of the Month Club this time, darling?
Probably will.
That means it'll make a lot of money, doesn't it?
I suppose so. And then it'll sell to movies and television as well.
Say, I guess you do all right, old man.
Oh, I do so.
You've been writing these books for years and coining them money all that time. You must be rich.
I'm not afraid of the poorhouse, if that's what you mean. My nephew will lose some money from time to time, but supporting him has really been my only life's luxury. Other than that, I've just been working my entire life.
Oh, say, we probably interrupted your work. You probably started your book already.
No, not exactly.
We won't bother you anymore, darling. You just pretend like we're not even here. Then we'll all get back together again at dinner. That'll be nice, won't it? You don't mind if George stays for dinner, do you? I'll tell Annie we're staying. You just sit here like the nice darling you are and work real hard. Bye-bye, sweetie.
Vivian, wait. I'd like to talk to you.
At dinner, darling.
It's important, and I'd like to talk to you now.
Of course, darling.
See you down in the court, Viv.
Now, what could be more important than sitting here and writing another famous book? Darling, your time is valuable. You could be making more money than talking to little old me.
And I'm going to talk to you.
What about?
About us.
Well,
That fellow Brewster, for one thing. What's between you two?
darling, don't tell me you're jealous.
Just before you arrived, my nephew reminded me of the fact that I'm engaged to someone who's way younger than I am. That Brewster fellow looks rather your age and good looking.
Darling, there are plenty of men my age, but you happen to be the most interesting one I've ever met. Sure, George is kind of good looking, but all he is really is just a big hunk of muscle. What I've always wanted was the man of the intellectual type, like you. See, I'm still wearing your ring. We're still engaged. I love you.
You're sure of that?
Of course. Do you want me to say it again? I love you.
And I love you too, Vivian dear.
Oh, Alex, you're just an old sweetie pie. Now, there's something that I want to talk to you about.
Yes?
Did you get your will changed like you said you would?
Oh, that.
You did make a new will, right?
Oh, yes. I talked to my lawyers about it. They said it wasn't quite the usual thing for a man to include his fiancée in the will until after they're married and choose his wife.
But I am in it, right?
Oh, yes, you're in for half. My lawyers and I are sort of compromised. You get half, my nephew Andrew gets the other half.
Well, that's not very nice.
But after we're married, I can change that. You'll inherit everything. Say, you want to see me stay around, though, don't you? When you only inherit half my money. But on the other hand, you could inherit everything. I would die after the wedding. It'd be very bad luck for you if I would die before the wedding, wouldn't you? Wouldn't it?
Darling, I don't know what you're talking about.
You want to see me stay around for a long time, don't you?
Well, of course. Of course I want you to stay alive.
But not until the wedding, which isn't for a couple weeks.
Darling, what is wrong with you? I want you to stay alive for a very long time. To go on writing more and more books and getting more and more famous.
And richer and richer?
Well, that too. We'd have to eat.
Thank you, dear.
Now, will you tell me what you're talking about?
Oh, that? It was just nothing but a silly dream. Forget I even mentioned it.
Are you sure that's all it was?
I'd say. Now, you go on and play tennis with Brewster.
I wish you told me about that dream.
It was just too ridiculous.
Sure you're not jealous of George?
George, I'd say. Now, you go on and have a good time.
All right, if you insist.
That's what it was. Nothing but a dream. I dreamed I was murdered, and I went to heaven. How silly can a dream get? Must have been that banana salad I had last night. I'll never bring bananas again. Michael, the archangel, that's a good one. I dreamed an archangel visited me, and I went to heaven. How silly can a dream get? No one's going to murder me. Nobody has a motive. Nobody's going to murder me. In fact, it's very important to everyone around here that I stay around for a long time. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Arlington. You sound in very good spirits. How are things going?
Who's this?
Michael, of course. Did you have a good trip?
You mean it wasn't a dream? I was really murdered?
Yes, and you're going to be murdered again at midnight tonight. Hello? Arlington? Are you there? Didn't know we had service up here. Is that it? Arlington? Hello? Hello?
you are, sir. That's better. Take a deep whiff. That'll do it. Once more. That's better now.
Get it away from me. I can't stand that smell.
Well, I was just trying to help. If you want to lie there unconscious all day, it's all right with me.
Unconscious? Was I unconscious? What happened?
I don't know what happened. I guess you fainted. I found you over there on the floor with a phone in your hand. I don't know how long you've been there, but I called Harry and we dragged you to the sofa here.
I remember. I got a call from Michael.
Michael, sir.
You wouldn't know him. He told me it wasn't a dream. This was real.
You having bad dreams again, sir?
I wish I could say that. It's going to happen, all right? At midnight tonight, somebody's going to use this on me. Here, take it, Annie. Get rid of it.
Okay, what'll I do with it?
Burn it up or something. I don't care.
But this thing won't burn.
I guess that wouldn't be fair, would it, Michael? In that case, Annie, you better take it somewhere out of my sight. No. Wait a minute. I can keep it somewhere where I can have my eye on it. I might know who tries to steal it. That would tell me who the murderer was. In that case, Annie, you better leave it right where it is.
Okay, but I wish you'd make up your mind. What's all this talk about a murder anyway?
It's a long story, Annie. What do you want, Miss Jenkins? I didn't ring for you.
I know you didn't, but the mail has arrived, and there's one item here I think you'd better attend to. You can go, Annie. This is a private matter between me and Mr. Arlington.
Go on, Annie. And make sure to smell the salt.
What's this about smelling salts?
It seems I had a fainting spell.
Well, you better get the smelling salts ready again. I took the liberty of opening this letter because it was from your publisher.
Read to me. My headaches.
You'd better sit down first, especially if you're subject to fainting spells.
All right? Let's have it.
I quote directly. Dear Alex, it was with some hesitation that we decided to publish your latest book, Murder of a Mannequin. Perhaps it will do all right, but if it does, it will only be because of your name and reputation. Frankly, it's the opinion here that you're slipping.
Slipping? How dare they say I'm slipping?
Be patient, there's more. Each book has been a little weaker than the one before. Is the well ran dry? Perhaps you should take a long rest.
Long rest? This is an outrage.
As we still have a contract with you for the next 5 books, this is of great concern to us. So I'm coming out to talk things over with you. I'll arrive on the 9 o'clock train Thursday morning. That's tomorrow morning.
They can't get away with this.
The truth is, Alexander, that your publisher is right.
Oh, you think so?
I know it for a fact. This is a desperate situation, but I have a suggestion.
Oh, you do.
Yes, I do. Your publisher suggests you take a rest, but there are still 5 more books to be written, according to the contract. And the public so enjoys mystery whether it's Alexander Arlington. But there is a way to fulfill the contract and keep the millions of mystery readers happy.
Just what do you mean?
I shall continue to write the books under the pen name of Alexander Arlington.
Pen name?
Publisher need never know. Our public need never know.
Our public? Do you think that for 1 second you could fool a single one of my readers, that you could imitate my style?
I could do better than imitate it, Alexander. I can improve on it.
I've never been so insulted. Miss Jenkins, you're nothing but a stenographer.
Do I have to remind you, Alexander, how large part of your last few books were mine anyway? I looked at the plots, made corrections, did rewriting.
Get out of here!
This is your only chance to save the reputation of Alexander Arlington. I'll split 50-50 with you.
You're fired.
You better listen to reason.
Fired up.
You'll never be able to replace me. And what's more, you'll never be able to finish another book without me.
Miss Jenkins, pack your belongings and leave this house.
You'll regret this.
Hey, wait a minute. Get back here with that.
I needed to open the mail.
Well, use a fingernail file.
Well, really, you think I was trying to steal it?
Maybe you were. For something besides murder. Opening my mail. That letter opener was originally a dagger, you know.
What would I do with a dagger?
What a funny question to ask someone who is so familiar with the subject of murder. You and my publisher think I'm slipping, eh? Well, let me tell you how I've been reading your mind. Let me tell you how I've been getting a feel for the situation. My publisher arrives here tomorrow morning and is very interested in continuing to write books under the name of Alexander Arlington. So you might sell him on your idea if I was out of the picture. You're writing the books under my name. But to succeed with that, you'd have to have me out of the way first. So yes, it would be very convenient for you if I were dead when my publisher arrived tomorrow morning.
It would be convenient, but I can hardly be that lucky.
But just a minute ago, you warned me of what would happen if I refused your proposition. What did that warning mean? Would you go as far as to murder me?
How dare you? I only wanted that dagger to open the mail.
Ah, yes, just having been fired, you wanted to open my mail.
I may be fond of the subject of murder, but I wouldn't commit one.
Wouldn't you?
Of course I wouldn't. What's the matter with you? I'm getting out of here.
Oh, there's one suspect. Miss Jenkins wants my name and to continue writing my books. The letter arrived just like this yesterday or today, whatever date this is. Me and Miss Jenkins had the same argument. That started everything.
There's a lady to see you.
What lady?
I don't know who she is. In fact, she doesn't look much of a lady, but she says she wants to see you, Mr. Arlington.
Well, send her in, will you, Annie?
Hey, Mr. Arlington.
Alexander Arlington.
Oh, I get it. You're the old money bag. Well, I was looking for Andrew Arlington, Esquire, that is.
So my nephew's nickname for me is Old Money Bag, right? Say, what's your name, by the way?
Flo Bacon's the name. You can just call me Flo.
Well, Miss Flo, won't you have a seat?
Say, Uncle, this is some wicked out here.
Hey, put that thing down, will ya?
What's the matter? I ain't gonna steal it.
But it's a letter opener. Just put it down, please. And you stay here, and I'll go get my nephew. Andrew? Andrew? Annie, if you see Andrew, can you tell him to come downstairs? He'll probably come running if he thinks I have money for him or something.
Oh, so you're gonna give him the dough?
I didn't say that. But something tells me you're aware of my nephew's pressing need for money.
Sure, I know about it. That's what I came here for.
You couldn't collect?
Me? Lucky Louie doesn't trust me that much. He does his own collecting.
Lucky Louie. I suppose that's the man that Andrew owes the 500 to.
500? Are you crazy? It's $5 grand. That means 5,000, old timer.
$5,000? Do you mean to tell me you owe Lucky Louie $5,000?
I'm afraid so, Uncle Alex.
You owe that much money in gambling?
I'm afraid so, Uncle Alex. I picked the wrong horses.
Well, why didn't you ask me for just 500 then?
I was hoping I'd keep Willie and the boys satisfied with a down payment.
Down payment? That's a hot one. Come over here, you boy. Listen, now I'm telling you this because I like you. See, Louie doesn't even know I came here, so I'm taking a big chance because I like you. See?
Well, thanks, Flo.
Don't mention it, but I came to warn you.
Warn me.
Well, I don't want to be a stool pigeon, but you're nice. I like you.
Well, sure, Flo. What's the warning about?
Well, I eavesdropped on Louie and some of the boys talking about you, and they're getting real tired of waiting for you to pay up, and they ain't gonna be satisfied with no down payment either. They want the whole $5 grand right away or else.
Or else? Or else what?
Now, you know Louie and the boys as well as I do.
You mean they'd kill me?
Uh-huh. And then they I'd wrap you up in a cement blanket and throw you in the river.
Oh, what am I going to do?
You heard him. What's he gonna do?
How should I know?
You've heard me tell him that then it killed him.
Yes, I heard you.
You've got to help him. Give him the $5,000.
$5,000. Just like that. Well, for your information, Miss Baker, old money bags isn't so full of money anymore.
You mean you broke?
Listen, this hasn't been a very lucky day for either Andrew or me. I just received a letter from my publisher. It's right there on my desk. You can read it if you'd like. That is if you don't have it. Listen, I'm washed up, okay? The easy money, it isn't coming in as much as it used to.
Say, he's right. Your uncle's in bad shape, baby boy.
But I just gotta get a hold of 5,000.
Well, you'll have to look somewhere else for it now, won't ya?
Ain't you got me in the bank?
Maybe I do. In fact, maybe I could just mortgage your own homestead. But how much money I have is none of your business. And I'm not going to risk that much money just to save Andrew's worthless skin.
Ain't Andy the only relative you have in the whole world?
Yes. But now it looks like I'm going to be left all alone now, doesn't it?
You ain't gonna win this.
Don't tell me about it. I'm not the one that owes Lucky Louie any money. You've got to help me. No thanks.
Well, fine. It'll be your fault. It'll be your fault if I have to do something drastic.
Drastic? Same word you used yesterday.
Yesterday?
You don't remember, do you? You don't know that we're living yesterday all over again today, do you? Because I'm the only one that knows it. But the trouble is, I don't remember things until they happen. And when it does, it's different.
Hey, what's he talking about?
I don't know. Me, he's just trying to change the subject. I'm going to do something desperate!
What?
I'm going to use this!
Put that thing down. What are you going to do?
I'm going to kill myself!
Is that all?
What do you mean? Don't you care?
I mean, it would certainly save Lucky Louie a lot of trouble.
That's a fine thing for an uncle to say.
Say, you got the wrong idea about using that knife.
What do you mean?
If something happened to old money bags, you'd get some from his will, wouldn't ya?
I guess.
I would remind you that my fiance, Miss Vivian Odell, is in my will for half.
Even half of what old money bags got would probably be enough. And if you were suddenly dead or something, Lucky Louie would understand that you were going to come into some money, and he might be a little more patient about it.
That's right. Then I can even pay him off with interest. But I could never do it, Flo. I could never commit a murder.
Well, here's another suspect. Listen here, I don't like the way you all are discussing getting rid of me.
That's just too bad.
But I just couldn't do it, Flo. I'm too chicken-hearted.
Well then, maybe for a price, like another $5,000, Lucky Louie could do the job for you.
I'm not afraid of Lucky Louie. He wouldn't use anything less than machine gun. I have to be murdered with this letter opener. This is an amateur's weapon. And Louie is a professional.
Louie could find someone who knows how to use a knife.
Maybe he can, but he's got to hurry. Because I have to be murdered with this at midnight.
What are you talking about?
Search me.
Kind of gives me the creeps. You're an oddball, you are. One last chance. You're gonna cough up that $5,000?
But I don't have it.
Okay. I did my part. I did all I could do. Don't say I didn't warn you. You better do something to get that money, and it better happen quick. And if that means something has got to happen to your rich old uncle, then it better happen. Because if it don't, something's gonna happen to you. And I hate to see that happen to any bunch, because I kind of like you.
What are you going to do, Andrew?
I don't know.
You aren't going to try to murder me, are you, Andrew?
I don't know. Well, I wish you'd make up your mind.
Even if I did, I wouldn't tell you about it.
Now, that doesn't show much gratitude.
What's all that you said about having me murdered with this thing?
It's the way it happened before. Michael said he could only make small erasures. He wouldn't take it.
Say, this isn't very sharp. I'll take this down to the kitchen and have Amy sharpen it for you.
You'll do. No such thing.
All right. Don't get mad.
I'm trying to keep my eye on that.
Oh, you don't want to keep an eye on me, do you?
We can go.
I'm gonna go find Flo. Maybe she hasn't left yet.
There's another suspect. Miss Jenkins wants my name and reputation. And Andrew wants my money. The question is, which one of them is going to have the nerve to kill me? My head aches just thinking about this. Hey, what are you doing?
I was reading.
Well, you have no right to read my private mail.
The letter isn't so private anymore. Miss Jenkins will know about it.
Miss Jenkins has her nerve.
But it is true, ain't it? There can be any more books.
The letter doesn't say that. There's just some slight difficulties. It'll be ironed out.
Maybe yes. And maybe no.
Well, anyway, you needn't worry. I've been pretty careful with my money. Even if I never sell another manuscript, there'll still be a job for you, Gary.
I ain't worried about my job.
And what else is there to worry about?
I've been thinking, Charlington, about all the things I told you about myself. They're okay then, but maybe you might not write more books. Maybe you might start reading me more. So maybe you might start reading cops.
Heavens. You had the same horrible idea yesterday.
You know, I just got it a minute ago.
Well, anyway, it's a horrible idea.
Oh yeah, I bet you're thinking of all the things you're telling the cops right now.
I am not! Besides, what does it matter what your past is? You reformed, and you're earning an honest living now.
The cops don't care about that stuff. They got pretty old memories.
I'm your friend, Harry. I'm not going to squeal. Don't you believe me? Suppose you want to murder me now, too. This is too much, Michael. 3 suspects now.
Who are you talking to?
You wouldn't know him. In fact, you'll probably never meet him.
Someone named Michael, huh? Is he a cop?
Our cop? Heavens no. He's an archangel.
What's that? Some kind of inspector?
I mean, yes, he's rather like an inspector. I mean, no, he's not like a police inspector.
You got him hidden. You got someone listening to the conversation we're having right now?
I mean, yes, somebody up there is always listening, I suppose.
You got a microphone in this room? Oh, I get it. That Michael got, huh?
For heaven's sake, Harry, there's no Michael. I mean, there's no microphone.
You're acting mighty funny, John.
You'd act funny, too, if you were in my situation.
The trouble is, when the guy's just acting like you're acting, there's no intending what he'll do. I just want a cop to sense.
Well, listen, Harry, I'm not squealing to the cops, and that's that. Now go on, Harry. Get back to work. Tend the rose bushes. Do whatever you were doing. You heard me. If you don't leave this innocent, I'll have you thrown out. Miss Jenkins, throw this man out.
Help! Help!
See, Harry, you scared Miss Jenkins. It's my letter opener you have. Put it back in my desk, please.
Letter opener. This thing's sharp. Could be used for a lot of things.
Put it back on my desk, please.
Say, I broke my trowel. Do you mind if I use this thing to dig around the roads a little bit?
I certainly do mind. If you don't give it back to me this instant, we'll have Miss Jenkins painting all over the carpet.
Okay. You don't care what happens to your roses. Just watch your steps, Darlington. I'm big keeping track.
Miss Jenkins, give me an aspirin.
I will not. I've been fired, so I'm packing my belongings and leaving this house.
Somebody give me an aspirin? Annie? Annie? Where is she? 3 people living under this house who want to murder me. Gratitude. What am I going to do?
He's gone, all right. Now, Harry said there was a letter?
I'm going to have a look at it. This must be it. Well, it sounds like he's washed up all right.
You've been telling me all along this guy always was a gold mine.
Well, I thought he was. He'd written dozens of bestsellers, and the movies and television have used lots of them. I thought he was good for years yet.
You thought?
Don't get mad at me. How was I to know? I'm no literary expert.
I'll say you're not.
Instead of getting mad, we've got to figure out what to do.
Let's quit wasting our time here. That's what we ought to do. We'll just chalk this little adventure up to experience. At least we have that ring he gave you.
We ought to be able to do better than that. I'm down for half in his will, you know.
Do you think it's enough to support both of us?
Well, he's been doing pretty well all these years. And he's stingy. We know that. I'll bet he saved up quite a bit.
Maybe.
Let's not give up the ship yet, George. He must have thousands.
Do you think he's got much of a bank account?
Well, he told me that after we got married, he would change his will again. Then I'd get everything. First thing I'm going to do after we get married is keep that nephew of his out of the house. Then I think I can manage Alexander well enough on my own. He'll be like putty in my hands. We'll get whatever's left and then we'll leave. But there's no use leaving now, is there? As long as there's money around. And if something should happen to my dear husband in the meantime, I'll get whatever's left.
Well, maybe.
Just when we've got the fish hooked. We don't want to throw him back now, do we? We'll make it out all right.
I guess you know what's happening.
Do you love me, darling?
Of course I will.
Well,
I didn't notice you were there, Alex.
no, I guess you didn't. What's the explanation of this?
It's all my fault. You see, in this way, I used to be in love with Vivian. Then she got engaged to you, and that left me sort of...
Broken-hearted?
Yes. So, just now, I was trying to convince Vivian that I still loved her, and that she should come back to me. It's all my fault.
Convince her, did you?
He didn't convince me, darling. I told him I was in love with you.
You told him you loved me by kissing him, I suppose.
He put his arms around me and wouldn't let me go.
It's all my fault, old man.
Stop calling me. There. So he forced himself upon me, did he? I didn't seem to notice a struggle.
Well, George is quite strong. There wasn't much use to struggle.
So you just went ahead and enjoyed it?
I didn't enjoy it.
You don't mind me saying so, Vivian. Don't believe you.
Oh, Alex, how could you possibly think that I would ever lie to you?
If this had happened any other day, not today, I might have been gullible. But today's been full of disappointments. And I'm being accustomed to them.
Go away, George. I want to talk talk to Alex alone.
Nope, you better stay, Brewster. Quit the crying, Vivian. It's a good act, but it's impressing no one. I found you out. You might as well face it. I must have been blind to think that a girl your age would want to marry a man my age.
But I do want to marry you.
That's my money. You think that you can support you and your lazy athletic friend over here?
I resent being called lazy.
Vivian, you can consider our engagement canceled. Keep the ring if you must. Maybe it'll support you with Tarzan over here if you find another sucker. And as always, I'll be keeping on my warning here in the morning to cut you out of my will. And here's another suspect. Vivian wants half my money, but I'll have to die before tomorrow for her to get it. Now both of you, out of my house.
Say, Vivian, there's no one else around here big enough to throw me out.
How dare you? If you don't leave this instant, I'll call the sheriff.
Vivian, this guy insulted you. He promised to marry you and now he's welching? What'll I do with him?
Stop being so muscular, George.
Can't I scare him a little?
I don't want you fighting. He's just an old man.
I am not an old man. Vivian, you can't scare me with this gorilla of yours.
This guy insulted me again, Vivian. I'll kill him with bare hands.
Oh, no, you don't. I can't die till midnight tonight. And whoever does it has to use this. So no, Brewster. I'm not in the least afraid of you.
Say, what is this?
I don't know.
Oh, but the idea fascinates you, doesn't it? The idea of me being murdered before I can get my lawyers here in the morning. You like the idea, don't you?
I couldn't commit murder, though.
You can get Brewster to do it for you.
And then we commit some.
Well, it's the first time for everything. Now, if you'll excuse me, about time I get back to work. You two should get back to town.
Yes. I guess we'll be going. Well, goodbye, Alex.
Goodbye.
No hard feelings?
Nope. No hard feelings.
I'd like to kiss you goodbye.
You kiss Judas? No thanks, I'm good. That was a close one. That big bruiser was attacked me. I can just feel this thing sinking in my back. She'll let Harry or Miss Jenkins take it. Then I'm gonna have to look at it. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Arlington. I'm curious. What are you doing with that letter opener?
Why? Nothing?
Oh, yes, you were. You were trying to break it. That's not fair, you know. That's not playing the game. That letter opener is the murder weapon.
I know. That's the problem. I just can't bear the thought that somebody's gonna stab me with this.
Well, remember, this whole thing was your idea.
No, but this wasn't a very good idea. I found out that every single person in this house wants to see me dead.
Well, that's unfortunate. But it's convenient, too. If nobody wants you down there, you won't mind turning up here.
I suppose it's some consolation. But the trouble is,
What's the trouble, Mr. Arlington?
it wasn't quite so bad the first time. I didn't know what was going to happen. But it's so much worse to know what's going to happen ahead of time. To know that I've got to sit here and wait to be murdered. I just can't go through with it again, that's all.
Can't go through with it. I'm afraid you don't have any choice.
You mean,
I mean exactly that. I could send you back to Earth easily enough, but there's only one way to get back to heaven.
one way?
One way. And you know exactly what that is.
It's 5 o'clock in my evening off, so I'm going now to catch my ride.
You'll cook dinner tonight, won't you, Annie?
Well, Harry will, of course. Doesn't he always on Wednesday nights?
Yes, Harry. Please don't go, Annie. You're the only friend I have in this house.
I'll go on with you, sir. But I've got to go tonight. My sister's ill and she's expecting me. Looks like there's going to be a storm, doesn't it? Getting real black and cloudy. And there's lightning off the northeast. Good night for a murder, isn't it? Be seeing you tomorrow, sir.
But I will be here tomorrow. Hello?
I'm curious, Arlington. What are you doing with that gun?
Well, you see, it's this way.
Talk fast, Arlington. I caught you cheating, didn't I?
I have to cheat. In a way, at least. But you said you could make small erasures. I didn't quite realize the difficulties, you see. Detectives usually have to solve their murders after they're committed. But here, I've got to solve mine before it's committed. It looked easy at first. All I had to do was find the motive. But there's not much time left. I have to do something desperate.
Desperate? Is that how you explain the gun? I suppose you're going to try to prevent the murder, or maybe shoot the murderer. Can't get into heaven, you know, if you commit murder yourself. And you've got to come back to heaven whether you like it or not.
Yes, I know. But I thought I might hold the murderer at bay for a moment. Delay him, you see. So I could identify him.
I don't think I like the idea very well.
I have to do something, don't you agree?
Well, maybe. But I'm going to keep an eye on you, Arlington.
Walking up for the night, sir.
Yes, it's late, isn't it?
11:20, sir. Did you, need anything else?
No, I guess not.
Well, great. Then I can stop being a butler. I hate this monkey suit.
I told you, you can't serve dinner in those overalls you wear in the garden, you know.
That's what you told me 1,000 times. That doesn't make the suit any more comfortable.
Hey, what are you doing?
Locking your door.
Are you sure you're not unlocking them? I'd rather do it myself. You see, they weren't locked.
You didn't give me time to lock them.
It's a fine time of night to be so concerned about those books.
I can't stand seeing things not neat, sir.
Well, I finally got packed,
It's fine. Took you long enough.
but it's past 11. I don't know whether I can get a taxi from here at this hour of the night.
You can try.
I was going to ask you if I could stay overnight and leave tomorrow morning.
Absolutely not. Well, why not? You probably have in mind to stay around till my publisher arrives in the morning. But I'm not afraid of what you might say to him, Miss Jenkins. So yes, I suppose you can stay.
Thank you.
Do me a favor though, Miss Jenkins. Stay down here for a while. I need some company. Read a good book or something. Make yourself at home.
Thank you.
Mary's travelers seem to have lost their way and are begging shelter. Let them in, will you? Well, well. Back so soon? Travel stained and weary too?
We had a blowout a couple of miles down the road, Alex. No one came by to help us.
Doesn't Mr. Brewster know how to change a tire?
There wasn't any air in the spare.
That's too bad.
Do you think that we could stay here tonight, Alex?
Why not? In fact, I think it would be delightful. So many people are gathering here, saying goodbye to one another. In fact, I think it might even be appropriate if we had a party. So let's see, who's missing? Why, of course, my dear loving nephew Andrew. Does anybody know where he is?
He's up in his room.
Reading the racing forms? Trying to rebuild his fortune?
How should I know?
Well, anyway, go fetch him, will you, Harry?
Sure.
I'm not in much of a party mood, Alex. I'd like to go to bed.
My dear, I insist you stay with us. Just till midnight. That isn't very long. About 30 minutes. You may sit down and rest if you like. I say, don't they make a nice looking couple? What do you think, Miss Jenkins?
Well, I don't know.
I should know better than to think of marrying someone as young as Vivian. Although, she isn't as young as she pretends. Where'd you know that, Brewster? I should have gone for someone more curious, Miss Jenkins. But please, don't consider this a proposal. I'm afraid it's a little late in the game for that. Well, the gang's all here. Say, Harry, since we're having a party, why don't you serve some sherry? Pour a glass for yourself, too.
Say, what's this? Why are you locking the door?
So no one can leave. That's obvious, isn't it? You all have what I might like to call a command invitation. So now, you sit back and make yourselves comfortable, because I have a little bedtime story to tell you.
Darling, your stories are so boring.
Try to bear with me with this one. This will be my last story. Now, to begin with, has any of you noticed anything strange or unusual about today?
You've acted funny, if that's what you mean.
You certainly have, darling. You went off several times on something about dreams.
And you mentioned murder.
Yes, that too. You were worried about someone murdering you, I think it was, and some gibberish about your letter opener.
You made an awful lot of fuss about that letter opener. You wouldn't even let me borrow it.
What excellent memories both of you ladies have. But, didn't your women's intuition tell you anything else? The general pattern, for instance, of what happened today? Did you feel that it might have happened before?
Yes, you mentioned that too.
Or did you feel it?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
And you, Vivian?
Me neither.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you the story of what actually did happen today. And as strange as it may sound, I don't want any of you to interrupt. Okay. You see, I was murdered.
Oh, Alex!
I said no interruptions. Yes. I was murdered, and I went to heaven.
You went to heaven? That's a laugh.
Vivian, please. Now, I thought I was dreaming all this, but later I found out it was real. I had indeed been murdered, and I went to heaven. I didn't know I'd been murdered when an archangel named Michael told me. The trouble was, however, that when I asked him who did it, he said he didn't know. Well, you can guess how intolerable that was to me. Alexander Arlington, who had been murdered personally without knowing who did it. And to top that, Michael even admitted that if my murderer went to that other place, as he called it, and didn't come through processing in heaven, I'd never know who murdered me. Think of it. I'd be living all eternity without knowing who my murderer had been. Me, the great mystery writer.
Uncle, you're balmy.
No confidence now, please, dear nephew. Yes, this Michael couldn't stand the idea of seeing me unhappy in heaven. So he got an idea. He said I could come back to Earth and relive the last day of my life. This would give me a chance to do a little investigating, find out for myself who murdered me. Now, I'll admit that when I woke up this morning, I thought I was dreaming. But then I received a call from Michael on this very telephone. This hadn't been a dream. It was real.
Say, that would make a good plot for a book.
Except that nobody would believe it.
I'm not asking to make you believe it. All I'm asking is that you stay here till midnight. Time for the murder, you see.
Who's murdered?
Mine, of course.
You're going to be murdered at midnight?
Say, that's good news. Yes, it's good news to all of you. That's the point. I'm supposed to be murdered in this room, stabbed to the back, this letter opener, at the stroke of midnight. That's the way it happened before. And that's the way it has to happen to me this time. Hello?
What are you up to, Arlington? What's the idea of telling everybody the secret?
It's a variation of the old gimmick. Haven't you ever read mystery novels? Final chapter. The detective brings all the suspects into one final room. And he explains his deductions, and the murderer usually confesses himself.
This may work out in books, but this is an unusual situation.
But I've got to do something desperate. This is the last resort. Wish you could spy on me.
Listen, pal, I have to watch out for my own interests.
Say, you aren't worried, are you? Not afraid of being double-crossed? Say, I think he's worried. That's encouraging.
Who was that on the phone? That Archangel character, I suppose?
That's exactly who that was.
This guy's nuts. Come on, Vivian, let's get out of here.
Get back here. Sit down, everybody. Now, the time is growing short, and we've got to hurry. Maybe none of you believe my story, but there are certain facts.
I believe you. It's quite intriguing. Go on.
Thank you, Miss Jenkins. Now, facts are these. It's quite possible that somebody in this room is thinking of murdering me, simply because every one of you would profit from my death. You, Miss Jenkins, would go on writing my books if I were out of the picture. Those two young lovebirds over there would get half my money and my property. My dear, loving nephew Andrew would get the other half. He needs it pretty bad. There's a certain group of gangsters that he owes it to. They might spare him if it was due to an inheritance. You know what Harry over there is afraid that I'll smell the cops.
Gee, you're in a morbid mood today, Uncle Alex.
I'm facing facts for the first time in my life. Now, going to Michael's records, I was sitting in this chair at the stroke of midnight, with my head down on the desk and my back exposed. An easy target, you see. Somebody came in here, picked up this letter opener, stabbed me in the back.
All right. Let's suppose the story is true. So the murder is going to be committed all over again. You're going to sit there and fall asleep so the murderer can stab you?
I'll sit here. But honestly, I don't know how that can. Could you, if you knew you were going to be murdered?
No, I couldn't. But doesn't that ruin everything? The murder can't possibly happen exactly as it did the first time.
You're correct. But Mike foresaw that difficulty. If I was to be allowed to come back and investigate, there would be some small details. Michael said he could make some small erasures in his book.
That brings up another problem. You'd have to solve the crime before it's committed. But how can you? We usually solve murders by looking at the clues left at the scene of the crime. But there wouldn't be any clues lying around before a murder.
Exactly. You've learned quite a lot from working with me these past 10 years, Miss Jenkins.
For instance, there's the possibility of fingerprints. The murderer might leave fingerprints on the weapon when he picks it up to stab you, but then it will be too late. You won't be alive to see the fingerprints.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
And this is the weapon. After the murder, it will be a clue. But right now, it tells the detective nothing.
Put that thing down, please.
But what can you do, Alexander? Somebody else might solve your murder after you're dead. But that will put you right back where you started from. You still won't know who did it.
You expecting someone to Confess.
What's that to confess to? Nobody has done anything yet.
Say, this is a problem.
And the trouble is, there's not much time.
Oh, you're racist, aren't you, my pet?
So, let's get this straight. Arlington has to be murdered by midnight tonight because it's already happened or it's written down in some book or other. Say, that's fine by me. I think it's a good idea. And I suppose everybody else here agrees with me. We all have good motives wanting Arlington dead. And one of us actually has the nerve to do it. So, let's let the murderer get to work.
Now wait a minute.
Arlington, if you're a man of honor and integrity, you'll keep your word to that archangel.
But I'm not that brave. I can't just sit here and know that I'm going to be murdered. Wait around, twiddle my thumbs.
But you have to. Now, I think the rest of us should all leave the room and scatter, and give the murderer a chance to sneak back.
Oh, no, you don't. Nobody is leaving.
But that's not fair.
I don't care whether it's fair. I've got all you suspects around here, and none of you are leaving my sight.
But you promised the Archangel.
I don't have to promise the Archangel. But I have a little plan, you see. I haven't been a mystery writer all my life. I have a few tricks up my sleeve. I'm going to sit here in this chair. That was a bargain, and I'm going to keep it. Michael was pretty decent about the whole thing. So here I am. But there isn't going to be a murder.
Oh, I knew there was a catch-word somewhere.
You were just teasing us, Alex. It's not very nice. You know how we wanted you to be murdered.
It's not very sporting of you, old man.
None of you understand, I see. I'm going to do my part, but the murderer won't do his. They're going to miss their midnight appointment. So now, let me tell you what happens when they miss their chance. You, Miss Jenkins, are going to lose your job, and I'm going on to new triumphs without you. In fact, my next book is going to consider this very case right here. You, my dear nephew, are going to be disinherited. Those gamblers probably take you for a ride. And you know what? It will be good enough for you. You, my dear Vivian, are also going to be disinherited. And you, Brewster, can have her. Of course, you'll have to support her without any help from me. And that won't be easy. And Harry, you've reminded me of my clear duty as a law-abiding citizen. I might never have gotten the idea from my books, but tomorrow I'm going to the cops and tell them all about you. There's 10 minutes to go.
You gonna keep a gun on us? Is that it? Who's gonna be able to grab that knife and get the gun on us?
Get back, Harry. Get back.
You ain't playing this game fair, Mr. Arlington. You ain't keeping your word to the Archangel.
Get back, Harry. I wouldn't mind shooting you. You're one criminal, you know. I'd probably get a reward. So just get back. That's better. I shall not use this gun as long as you are all content to stay in this room. You're free to murder me if you have the chance. But I'm not going to use this gun to stop you. And that is what I call keeping my word to the Archangel.
You promise you won't use that gun to stop somebody from stabbing you?
I promise. I don't need the gun. I have a superior mind. I have a plan.
Are you going to tell us what your plan is?
You know what? Why not? I see to it that I'm in the appointed place to my murder, and that all the suspects, all the possible murderers, are in this room. How could I be more fair?
But there's a catch to it somewhere.
Of course there is. This little plan of mine has been swimming around in my head all day. But to have it work, I need the cooperation of all of you. And you all cooperated without realizing it. I needed to have you all together. Andrew and Harry hung around. Miss Jenkins delayed about going. And Vivian and Mr. Brewster went to town, but they came back. So now you're all here. All my lovely little suspects.
So, what now?
It's time for the murderer to get to work. One of you is the murderer. It's not Mr. or Mrs. Murderer. Whoever you are, you have 5 minutes. You need to stab me in the back at the stroke of midnight. But remember one thing. There'll be 4 witnesses to your crime, not counting myself. And if you don't think those 4 will swear to the police, you're mistaken. You'll all have to talk to save your own skins. It's not Mr. Murder, it's a word. Because if you don't kill me at the stroke of midnight, I'm gonna walk out of this house a free man.
Say, I'll bet that's the Archangel.
Oh, so you believe him now, do you? Because he can put out thunder and lightning?
For heaven's sake, Alex, answer the phone!
Ah, yes, for heaven's sake. Hello? Michael? We rather thought of you.
Arlington, you're cheating!
Oh, no, I'm not. Here I am, ready to be murdered. You certainly can't blame me if the murderer can't go through with it now, can you?
Very clever, aren't you? Technicality, but very clever.
Thank you, sir.
But I wonder if you're clever enough.
What do you mean?
The murderer has a date with Midnight, too. He, or she, may be clever, too. May think of something. You aren't the only one who can make clever little plans.
My plan is foolproof.
We'll see. Shall we synchronize our watches? I have 4 minutes to 12.
4 minutes? That's correct.
In exactly 4 minutes, then, Alexander. I'll be seeing you.
Say, that Archangel sounds real mad. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes right now, Uncle Alex.
Well, sure he's mad. Because he doesn't know whether he's going to get me back or not.
You know, it sounds like that Archangel's on our side.
Even the Archangel wants you to die, Alex.
We all do.
Thank you all for the kind thoughts.
And you're being absolutely beastly about this, Alex.
Uncle, when it comes time for a man to die, he ought to die.
Somebody better think of something. Very quick.
We ought to be thinking.
We could all stab him together. You know, like they stabbed Julius Caesar. That way we couldn't squeal.
But there's only one lunch opener.
Harry, go to the kitchen and get knives for everybody.
Don't you dare, Harry. Remember, I've got a gun, and I'm not afraid to shoot.
We can draw lots. That would make it a conspiracy. That way we couldn't tell on each other.
You all can't trust anybody in this room, and you know it. You're all a bunch of scurvy names.
And besides, I ain't very lucky. I ain't taking my chance in a raffle.
Well, somebody has to do something.
Oh, I'm so nervous. This is our big chance.
This is our last chance. We've got about 2 minutes.
George, think of something. Do something.
Maybe I do have an idea.
Well, hurry up a bit. Hurry!
Will you shut up a minute? Now, what's called Razzle Dazzle, the hidden ball.
This is a fine time to start talking about football.
Will you listen? Now, Arlington said, and he's right, that if the murderer were to stab him in front of everyone, we would all be witnesses. Eyewitnesses. That's no good. Suppose this. Suppose we can fix it to where the murderer can safely stab Arlington without being seen.
But how are you going to arrange that? How is somebody in this room going to stab me without being seen?
Simple, old man. Hidden ball. Razzle dazzle. Football players can be smarter than mystery writers. All I have to do is turn out the lights. Now, Mr. Murderer, whoever you are, this is your big chance.
I can see you. There's just enough lightning. I can see you. Everyone can see you. Who are you? Get away from me. Get away from me.
I do believe someone is coming. Boy, that was a close one.
Too close for comfort, I'd say. What would have happened to us, Michael, if it hadn't happened to Alexander?
Thank heaven, my children, we'll never know. Processing is a little slow today, a little slow. Let our visitor in, children, let him in. Welcome home, Mr. Arlington.
Pull out the knife, will ya?
You've been through processing again, Alexander. There's no knife there.
But I distinctly feel it this time. Whoever did it certainly wasn't kidding.
Whoever did it? You mean you don't know who murdered you?
No, I don't.
Well, I guess I'll have to go back again.
No! Not again. I can't go back again.
But didn't you enjoy yourself back on Earth?
Enjoy myself? My dear young lady, I was murdered.
Well, of course. What did you expect? I think you expected not to be murdered.
Well, it might not have been if the lightning hadn't stopped.
We had to do something. We were in a spot too, old man.
Yes. I suppose you were. I'm sorry about that. My instinct for self-preservation just must have been too strong.
I accept your apology. And now, I have news for you. I know who murdered you.
You do?
Absolutely. Now think of it. Brewster was the one who turned off the lights, giving the murderer a chance to work in the dark. Now tell me, would you have trusted Brewster not to turn the lights on again while you were right in the middle of doing the stabbing?
I certainly wouldn't have. Unless I was Vivian.
Brilliant deduction, Alexander.
Vivian murdered me.
Well, come now. You mustn't have any mean thoughts towards anybody.
No mean thoughts. Why should I care that Vivian murdered me?
Are you happy now, Alexander? That's the important thing. Are you happy?
Why, of course I'm happy. I'm in heaven, aren't I?
That's wonderful. You go right through that door, Alexander. You can measure for your wings in there. Boy, things were getting pretty hot for up here, weren't they?
Coming off stage.